Let's get to Market Watcher's Rich Karlgaard, Jared Levy, on what these trade tensions are doing right now. Rich, it's fair to say right now this is a trade war. You can find any other way to finesse it, but it's a trade war. I don't see any other way around it. You?
Well, the market is certainly looking at it that way, although I think the market is also assuming that there's a great deal of bluffing, typical Trump-style negotiating ploys here. I think if it were a real trade war, we would see the down by 4 figures. Which isn't a lot given the size of the Dow now. But you could lose 5 or 10% in a heartbeat if something really bad happened.
Jared, one of the things I was noticing is that when we got the Chinese response, not saying that they were upping the ante or adding more tariffs to the tariffs the president was adding, they were more or less saying, what the hell with this? We're taking our meeting marbles and going home, almost. Jeff Fang, the Chinese Commerce Ministry official, saying that we're ready to strike back forcefully. This is very unreasonable. This is extremely wrong. Our response will not exclude any options. So it's everything but coming to blows, but clearly threatening blows. What can they do?
Okay, so what you said earlier about getting everybody to sort of, gang together and attack China collectively. Remember, if China rolls over here and gives us what we want, they set a precedent. And then the countries begin rolling in saying, well, if the U.S. got it that easy, then we're going to go in. So I think the Chinese need to take a harder stance here. You hit on a very profound point there. I don't want to jump on you because that, I think, is the one thing holding the Chinese back. Whatever they do for the United States, by definition, they would have to do for others. And that scares the you-know-what out of them. That's right. And let's not kid ourselves. As much as China needs us more than we need them, we really need China. We've got a lot of very cheap stuff that sloshes around our economy that enables the average American that goes to Home Depot, Lowe's, buys anything on Amazon. The majority of these goods are coming from China. I'm buying fixtures in my house that cost, $50, $100, which years ago before China came into the game would have been $500, $600, $1,000 American made. So keep that in mind. The other thing is the fact that this negotiation is going on so publicly. It's not like a normal negotiation. It just has an end and one person wins, the other person loses or whatever. It's this ongoing sort of increase of volatility and sort of discomfort and less trust in the president's effectiveness that I think is going to have longer-term ramifications for the marketplace.
Rich, I don't want to play politics. No, I hear what you're saying. I don't want to play politics with this, but I just want to step back and get an idea, an inkling what you think of the president's strategy, which is play tough with China, be unpredictable. I could see all of that. But is this impulsive by half? In other words, is he kind of crazy the way he's going about this? Because, first of all, you lay out the idea that you're going to go after aluminum and steel-related products. And that covered, when all was said and done, really about half a dozen major items. Then he comes out with a list of about 100 more items, then a list that now encompasses more than 1,000 items. Then he adds $500 million to that in additional items that go way, way, way beyond into the area of intellectual property, which is hard to quantify. The Chinese respond to every step except the one hours ago, late last night. So I think the Chinese seem to be saying we're arguing with a crazy man. Now, there might be something to that. But what do you think of the approach the administration is taking? Because the Commerce Ministry official seems to be saying, I don't know what we're dealing with here.
Well, I think at the heart of any great negotiator is that aura of a little bit of craziness. I mean, you have to, so I think that he's acting in pure Trumpian style here.
So you think this is all a strategy? You think this is all very shrewdly played out, not just impulsive kind of...
I think that he is hardwired to fight. He's hardwired to counterpunch, all that kind of stuff. He wants to show that he's strong, particularly to his base, and this makes him look strong, at least in his eyes. But I'll tell you what, Jared is right about that China has more to lose in a trade war economically, but I think Trump has more to lose politically if he lets this get out of hand. And that's because Xi has got complete power in China. He can shut down criticism, he can shut down the media. Trump can't do that. He's got the 2018 elections. The Chinese are targeting, trying to put pain on the farm states. There are a lot of races that could be affected by that on the small margin. And then you got 2020. So at the end of the day, I hold to this belief that Trump's greatest fear is being perceived as a loser. And if he sees the economy going down and he sees that as hurting his reputation, I think he'll pull back.
Well, I think he's concerned enough to say, I think as he did on the plane yesterday going back from West Virginia, not the Stormy Daniels thing, but the other acknowledgement here that there's going to be pain. People are going to feel pain. That's the first time he's acknowledged that. But that he also prefaced it, Jared, to say, all right, in the long run, it will be worth it. I'm paraphrasing here. But I think even he might be fearing that he could be going too far, because certainly Larry Kudlow did not have a heads up on these additional tariffs that he was considering late last night. Right. And so he's going like a cowboy on this. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But that I think, you know, he's sensing, given what's happened in the futures markets and everywhere else, that the pain is real. It's already happening.
It is. And
well, he's hearing about it from manufacturing companies, too, that, like Harley-Davidson.
Yeah, you're right. But go ahead, Jared.
Yeah. The biggest flaw to this approach is this. We discount consumer confidence a lot. We talk about it. We just kind of like, oh, that's a consumer confidence number. We lump it in with all this other data. But in my mind, and I've been around this game for 24 years now, confidence is everything. You break down American confidence, whether it be the consumer, whether it be Wall Street, whoever. I don't care if he believes there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. If we don't believe that, if we don't have confidence right now, then this thing can't keep going, right? So that's the delicate line that I think is breaking down. And I'll tell you, when these markets move 3, 4, 5 standard deviations in volatility from where they were, that is a sign that things are way out of whack and people are very uncomfortable. The conversations have changed from just buy everything to do we really want to be in here? And that's a big shift from where we were just a month, 2 months ago.
All right. Well, whether you like the president or not, he is undoing his own market rally. It is his sentiment, his approach that for the time being is killing this market rally he used to brag about. Gentlemen, thank you both very, very much.